Have you ever felt that the job circumstances have changed for you and your position is in danger or your future is uncertain? Perhaps this is too general, but let's look at a specific example. Have you been told lately that AI is going to take your job? It has become such a boring threat for many people recently, hasn't it? As a university lecturer and researcher, at first I was frightened by it. Then it started to annoy me more and more, and finally I made a decision that something had to be done about it. So I can say something like this as an answer. Yes, I've been told, but I'm not worried about it because I'm ready for the change. Well, if you would like to be ready for any kind of change in your job circumstances, like the threat of the AI nowadays, then bear with me for the next 10 minutes or so, and I will show you not only my story, how I created a strategy to become an AI-ready researcher, but also I will tell you how to properly prepare for any kind of changes in your job. And being prepared means you're already on the right track to survival and even to success. For the past 8 years, I have taught business and engineering students in several courses about the tools that companies use to achieve their goals. When we're talking about marketing, it is quite obvious for us that there are several external changes that companies have to adapt to and prepare for. For example, a change in legislation, the emergence of a new competitor, or the changing needs of our customers. However, over the years, I had to realize that as employees, we're also products managed by ourselves, and we have to face the changes the same way. If I mention you SWOT analysis, you probably all remember at least something from your studies, maybe even you've done something similar for a product or a company. Well, yes, companies have been using this extremely simple model for decades. And now we're going to look at it from a different angle and make it into the basis of our success. To do this, we will learn 3 steps. And to help you, I will show you how I use this to become an AI-ready researcher. And this is step 0, to set the goal. If you're not having any goal, it's pointless to do a SWOT analysis. Once we have the goal, let's get started. We have 3 steps here to follow. We can call this the 3S method: scan, skills, and sync. So let's discover these steps. In the first step, we are focusing on the external environment, and we are collecting the changes. Those changes that have just started and are likely to become significant. We call this in the marketing the trend analysis. Of course, we can focus on those changes that are already significant, but the sooner we notice them, the sooner we can start to react to them. Artificial intelligence is not a new term, but there's no doubt that there was a major change going on here at the end of 2022 with the emergence of generative AI tools. This is clearly part of the external environment of not just companies, but also employees, teachers, researchers like me. Do you remember when was the first time when you noticed that there was a major change going on here? Although I said it's quite important to notice the changes as soon as possible, I myself didn't immediately see this. Sometime a few months later, in a discussion with a student, I had to realize that I was already behind. In addition, not so long after, I saw a growing demand from my customers, the students, to learn the correct use of the AI tools. Besides, or sometimes instead of the course materials, as they would like to use them afterwards in the labor market. Similar to students in education, we have customers in our research projects, and they expect us to use innovative research methods. This is also part of our external environment. Companies also try to analyze their competitors and their suppliers. The same can be true for employees. For me, as a university lecturer, it is clear that other lecturers and researchers are my competitors. This can be seen from the competition for the fundings, the scholarships, and also in the results of the student opinion questionnaire on education. So for me, it was quite important to understand how other lecturers try to improve their AI skills. And who could be my suppliers? Here we can let our imagination run wild, and for me, as an academic researcher, the textbooks and platforms that help me gain relevant knowledge, or the softwares that help me to do the research, these are my suppliers. In the second step, we are not focusing on the external environment, but we are focusing on the internal one. So we do the skill checking. Here I think it's the most important to focus on the values that we already have, or those values that we would like to develop. For me, the most important intrinsic value is the so-called engineering perspective that I acquired while I was studying at the university to become an automotive engineer. Thanks to this perspective, I can easily understand how softwares and algorithms work, even though I'm not a mathematician and I cannot code professionally. What other skills can we have? For example, being fluent in English so that you can easily read the literature, having the motivation and time to learn new things, or having access to great materials that help you to get relevant knowledge. Or we can even value a student with whom we have a good working relationship and we can work as partners. And here comes what most people no longer do in the SWOT analysis. But for us, this will be the key to everything. In the third and final step, we try to see the connections between the things that we discovered in the first two steps. So we do the sync. Here we are looking for the links between the external changes and the internal values that we have. For example, I see a technological change, the rise of the AI technologies, and I can combine it with the engineering perspective I acquired, and the result will be that I will have a better understanding how AI system works, and I can use them effectively. Or I see the growing demand from my students to learn the AI skills, and I have the time and motivation and the materials to learn, and the result will be that I will have relevant knowledge to teach. Or another expectation for me, the innovative methods that we should use for research. For example, I can combine it with having super talented students as partners who can help me to find new solutions that we can use later on in our research projects, for which I'm particularly grateful to my enthusiastic students. You can see through these examples how we can connect the external changes and the internal values that we have. The result of every such a link is a strategic step, an action, a priority like these. I want to have a better understanding of how AI system works. I want to gain relevant knowledge. I want to work with super talented students as partners. These actions, these steps help me to become an AI-ready educator. It may seem quite complicated, but let's summarize the steps. In the first step, we were looking at the external environment. See the scan and see how we can collect our customers, our suppliers, or the competitors. In the second step, we do the skill checking. Here we're focusing on our strengths and weaknesses. What values we already have, what values we do not yet have but we would like to develop, or where appropriate, what are those weaknesses that we have and we would like to eliminate them when we are developing our strategy. And in the last step, we try to find connections between the things that we discovered in the first two steps. And based on the relationships, we are searching for actions, searching for priorities. It is worth practicing this and thinking about this. So the next time when you feel that something has changed in your work environment, you can immediately recognize the external changes and your internal values. And based on the relationships, you can create your own workplace strategy for your survival, and even not just for your survival, but for your workplace and career success. Thank you very much for listening.